Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another video. It is the weekly news roundup, the show where we sit down and we go through all of the latest Everton news from the last 7 days. So I hope you all have had a fantastic week. Carlo Ancelotti had his pre-game press conference today ahead of Sunday's return to Premier League football for Everton. Everton travelling to Craven Cottage to play Fulham. Carlo Ancelotti gave an injury update and he said that Seamus Coleman and Jean-Philippe Gbamin will be out of this one. Of course, we pretty much could have guaranteed that Jean-Philippe Gbamin wasn't quite ready yet, and Seamus Coleman did pick up an injury whilst on international duty and had to return to USM Finch Farm early. So not a massive surprise that Seamus is out of this one. Carlo, however, did say that Richarlison, Alan, Fabian Delph and James Rodriguez are all fit and available to play. Alan did pick up a knock in Brazil's game against Uruguay midweek. However, Carlo Ancelotti said that they have all returned to Finch Farm. They've been tested. They've tested negative for the virus as well, and they haven't shown any sign of injury. He actually specifically spoke about the South American players first because he was asked about them, and he said that all players, Yerry Mina, James Rodriguez, Alan and Richarlison have all, returned back to Finch Farm, tested negative for the virus, not showed any injuries or issues whatsoever. The only slight problem is they were a little bit tired because of the travelling and the jet lag, etc. But they'll have another day's rest before the game against Fulham, and they are all fit and injury free. So that is absolutely fantastic news. I know a lot of us were sort of fearing, especially with, Alan, of course, picking up an injury in training for Brazil and not featuring in their last game. And, of course, Richarlison going off after quite a nasty challenge from Edison Cavani. However, it come that Richarlison was actually okay and he ended up running off the pitch, I think, and the substitution was actually premeditated, so it wasn't due to him having an injury. So that is fantastic news about Richarlison, Alan, James Rodriguez, Yerry Mina, and, of course, Fabian Delph as well. Not so great about Seamus Coleman. Again, I said it in the live stream, I think it was on Wednesday, that it seems like every international break now that Seamus Coleman goes to, he picks up some form of injury or some form of knock, and it has happened again, so it's not great. And of course, with Jean-Philippe Gbamin, Carlo Ancelotti did have some positive news about Jean-Philippe Gbamin and his return to football. Of course, Carlo said a few weeks back that he expects him to return in around about November, mid to late November. Carlo said today that he is on his last part of his recovery and that he's expected to train and play within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So within the next couple of weeks or so, possibly even running into the December fixture list, which of course is very manic and we play a lot of games in such a short period of time. Hopefully we'll have Jean-Philippe Gbamin back and ready to play. I'm not saying throw him in there straight away because I understand the injury he's had have been very significant, but it is good news that he is on the last part of his recovery now, and hopefully he'll return to the side within the next couple of weeks or so, certainly return to Finch Farm to complete full training. Carlo Ancelotti went on to discuss some recent rumours linking Real Madrid attacking midfielder Isco to Everton Football Club. During the international break, there was a couple of journalists, there was a couple of media outlets, Mundo Deportivo being one of them, and the Daily Mail were one of them as well, and they linked the Real Madrid star to Everton, saying that he would like to reunite with Carlo Ancelotti and, of course, James Rodriguez at the Blues, and he ideally would want the move. The rumours also stated that Everton would be prepared to pay around £80 million for him in January and go ahead with that move. Now, Carlo Ancelotti spoke about this yesterday. It was reported by Sport Witness that Carlo Ancelotti said, "It's not true that I am behind Isco. We haven't started thinking about the January market. So these comments are, as they say here, bullshit." And of course he was asked then about it again in the press conference today. So that was yesterday. He said that and he was asked again about it in the press conference, and he said, "Isco is a rumour from the press and the media. It's not a rumour that went out from our side. We are not talking about the market in this period. We are talking about the problems we have, and we are working to resolve this issue. Isco is a fantastic player. He is a Real Madrid player." So again, Carlo Ancelotti there coming out and basically saying, look, Isco is a very good footballer, a player that I enjoy enjoyed managing, a player that I've worked with before, but we're not really looking at the market, or we're not looking at the market at all at the moment. We're focusing on the issues at hand and trying to resolve them. He also later in the press conference went on to talk about Everton's defensive issues and how we can resolve them going into the next couple of games and whether or not we need a complete shift. But he basically, there you go, he said that, we're not in the market at the moment, we're not talking about players, and that rumour has completely been fabricated by the press. So, a little bit of consistency from Carlo Ancelotti there, a little bit of clarity as well. I do remember him talking about James Rodriguez before James Rodriguez signed, and he said something similar, but he wasn't quite abrupt with it. Before James Rodriguez signed, he spoke about how brilliant of a footballer he was, and how the rumour of James Rodriguez joining Napoli was with him, and he never moved to Napoli. So he spoke about how it was just a rumour put together by the press, but he always had this sort of little smile when talking about James Rodriguez, and this sort of smirk, whereas with Isco, he said he was a fantastic player. He said he really enjoyed working with him, but he said, obviously the rumours at the moment are completely put together by the press and the media, and as he said in that Sport Witness article yesterday, that it is, as they say, bullshit. So there you go, Carlo Ancelotti providing an update on Isco. He was also asked about another player who he used to manage at Real Madrid, Sami Khedira. Sami Khedira's been rumoured with a possible move to Everton Football Club over the last couple of days. Again, quite similar to the Isco rumours, quite similar to the Isco situation. The story behind this is that Sami Khedira, I think, has come out in an interview and said that, he'd like to reunite with Carlo Ancelotti. He loved him as a manager, and he'd also like to test himself in the Premier League. So that practically means only one thing, and that's Sami Khedira trying to push for a move to Everton Football Club. So, of course, he was asked about this in his press conference today, and Carlo Ancelotti answered these rumours by saying, "I have a good memory of Sami Khedira. I would love to work with him again, but he is not the only one. I have had so many good players, but to come here to Everton is another thing." So again, practically saying there, look, I've managed a lot of really, really good players in the past. I've managed a lot of really, really good talent, but just because I've managed them before, just because they might want to come and play in the Premier League, doesn't mean that we're going to sign them forever. And now it's not completely writing off Sami Khedira signing for Everton Football Club. We done a little poll on our Twitter just after the press conference, and it seemed like the majority of people wouldn't actually want to bring Sami Khedira in, maybe because of his age, maybe because of the fact that, again, we need someone a little bit younger with a little bit, more legs in the middle of that park. But again, it's Carlo Ancelotti coming out talking positively about an ex-player that he used to manage, quite similar to the Isco situation, but separating the fact that he has a good relationship with that player and he has good memories of that player and Everton Football Club. Because I said it on Monday, it's very, very easy now in this current climate for journalists to look at Everton and look at Carlo Ancelotti and say, well, let's just put a player that Carlo Ancelotti's worked under before who's not really in favour at his club at the moment and link him to Everton because it makes sense. And obviously it happened with James Rodriguez, and the links were to be true, and he come in and he's been absolutely fantastic. So that just boosts the press's agenda even more now, and it makes it a lot easier for them to pick out certain players and say, right, okay, let's link them with a move to Everton Football Club. Everton may well be in for Sami Khedira or Isco, or Carlo Ancelotti may well have looked at those two players and thought they could come in and improve this squad. But it's clear as day there. Certainly regarding Isco, Carlo's come out and said, look, I like the player, he's a good player, but he's a Real Madrid player, and the rumours linking him with Everton have been put together by the media. So there you go, Carlo talking down some of the recent transfer rumours that we have seen, and understandably as well, considering we're only in November and the next transfer window isn't until January, and the next transfer window where we'll probably do significant business isn't until the summer either. Carlo Ancelotti was then asked a series of questions about the link between heading in football and dementia. He was asked about from a journalist about a question that was posed to him to say that a lot of ex-footballers have come out and unfortunately been diagnosed with the horrible illness that is dementia, and he was asked about whether he believes that there's something there, and whether he believes that he is worried about his own health. Carlo Ancelotti come out and said, yes, of course it concerns me. He was asked if he was concerned. He says, yes, of course it concerns me. Research they do for this is welcome. It's true that 40 years ago when I played, there wasn't the control that players have in this period. I think it's an aspect we have to take into consideration. He was then asked directly a couple of minutes later from a different journalist about his own health, obviously with him being a footballer, as he mentioned 40 years ago, and whether he is concerned about that. And he said, listen, I have had teammates that have died. Of course, we were worried and concerned about what happened in the past. the treatment, but what can we do now? Now I think we have to support the research for the future. He was then asked about whether he could see football being played in the future without heading of the ball, because it's been proven that constant heading of a football, or similar with other sports, boxing, UFC, constant pressure to the head can cause these unfortunate illnesses. And again, it's been shown in a lot of various different cases over the years. And he said, I don't know this, I think we have to research for this, I don't know how playing with the head affects this, we have to be supported by the medicals and the research. So again, Carlo Ancelotti, very, very level-headed, coming out and saying, look, it's very, very possible, and of course there's a lot of cases of this, but we need to follow the medical research, we need to carry on looking into this, we need to carry on doing our research so we can be as sure as possible. And it was a very, very level-headed answer from Carlo Ancelotti. He also said, look, the past is the past, and unfortunately the way we done things in football 40 odd years ago isn't the way we do them today. The treatment wasn't as good, the support of players wasn't as good, the footballs, of course, themselves were a lot harder than they are in this day and age. But he said, listen, the past is the past. We have to focus on the future and being able to change the future by, supporting the research and by going out there and actively looking at what we can do to avoid these situations happening again. So again, a very positive, response from Carlo Ancelotti in regards to practically saying, look, let's not worry too much about the past. Let's just focus on avoiding those situations again in the future. And of course, he's absolutely right. I think it was a really, really interesting discussion and conversation, to be perfectly honest with you, because look, it's there, it's clear for us to see, it's light as day, it's happening. Enough pressure to the head, unfortunately, in later life does cause issues. We've seen it, like I mentioned there, with various boxers, UFC fighters, other MMA fighters, footballers over the years. That constant pressure to the head can cause problems and issues in later life, and coming from somebody who has not struggled with dementia personally, but had a close family member struggle with dementia, it's absolutely horrible. It is horrible to see, and I think if we can do something to avoid that in the future, mightn't necessarily be completely removing heading from football, because they might find a way to, I don't know, make the balls a little bit softer or not have as much of an impact, I don't know, and ultimately that's what Carlo Ancelotti's saying. He's saying, look, we don't know at the moment, but it's important that we support this research going forward, and that we continue to try and find a way to avoid this happening to future footballers as well. But in regards to himself, he said, listen, of course we were worried. He's had teammates themselves that have unfortunately passed away, but that's unfortunately the past, and we can't do much about that, so let's focus on the future and how we can change it. Carlo Ancelotti, little bit of an international roundup now. Obviously, a lot of Everton first teamers have been on international duty over the last couple of weeks or so. This isn't in any particular order. We're going to go through the most recent ones first. James Rodriguez scored in Colombia's massive 6-1 defeat to Ecuador a few days ago. He scored a penalty in that game. He did play the entire 90 minutes as well, and this actual result led to him having to release an official statement on his Twitter page, basically saying that, I think there was a couple of news articles and journalists in and around Colombia that were possibly suggesting that and there was a fallout in the Colombian dressing room, and there might have even been a physical altercation involving James Rodriguez. So he come out after the game and he said, look, this is completely and utter nonsense. There wasn't anything of the course. We're together. We anything of the case, we're together. We play together. We win together. We lose together. It was a bad result, but we move on. And he completely denied all of those rumours. But unfortunately, Colombia did lose 6-1 to Ecuador a few days ago. James Rodriguez did score the only goal for Colombia, to be fair, which is a little, it's a positive, I suppose, to take out of it. Brazil beat Uruguay 2-0, and Richarlison scored Brazil's second of the day, bouncing back into football with a brilliant headed goal for Richarlison. He was then taken off in around about the 65th, 66th minute after a poor tackle from Edinson Cavani that actually saw Edinson Cavani sent off. There was no injury to Richarlison. There was a little bit of a fear at first, because when you see a player lunging with that type of tackle and then the player on the other end of it going off, your first thought is he injured? But he wasn't. The substitution was premeditated. It was going to happen. either way, and Richarlison jogged off the pitch, of course, after scoring his goal. Carlo Ancelotti has again discussed the injury situation at Everton and said that Richarlison and Alan, who also picked up a slight injury whilst on international duty, they have both returned to Finch Farm and are both injury-free ahead of the game against Fulham. Jordan Pickford played 90 minutes in England's 4-0 win over Iceland. Dominic Calver-Lewin and Michael Keane were unused substitutes and didn't get on the pitch on that day. Jordan played the entire 90 minutes. Jordan Pickford also placed an England shirt in memory of England goalkeeper Ray Clemence, who unfortunately passed away earlier this week. Jordan placed the England shirt behind the goal line just before the win against Iceland. Very, very, very sad about Ray Clemence. He was a fantastic, fantastic goalkeeper. Top man as well. By all accounts, a really, really nice guy, down-to-earth guy. So it is very, very sad about his passing. And Jordan and the rest of the England team, of course, showing their, support and solidarity in this tough time for Ray Clemence's friends and family. And in memory of him, they placed an England shirt behind the goal line at Wembley before the win. Lucas Digne was substituted on in the 46th minute for France in their win against Sweden. He got an assist in that win as well. Fantastic for Lucas Digne to bounce back into international duty and get an assist. Robin Olsen played the 90 minutes for Sweden on that day. Lucas Digne has also had an interview with EvertonFC.com during the international break, talking about himself, talking about Everton's goals and what we want to achieve. He said we had a perfect start and then we hit some bumps in the road, but we will bounce back now. To me, our good start was not a surprise. He said we showed our true level. We have some rhythm and momentum, but we were missing players in recent games with injuries and suspensions. We will be back on track for sure. He then spoke about the transfer window. He said the club did well in the transfer market. We had a good group of players and have a great manager with amazing experience in top football. It is an exciting time to be at Everton right now. We will get back to our best and we will be a strong team this season. He said Everton have ambitions to play in the Champions League, and so do I. There is no doubt that we aim for Europe. He was then asked about fans in stadiums, and he says it feels so strange to play a big game with an empty stadium and without the supporters, especially in our own stadium. Basically, everything is different without the fans, the whole atmosphere, to feel their dedication, their joy and their passion. And then he said we love to share those emotions with them. The supporters are the heart and soul of football and we play for them. Even though they are not here, but we miss them badly. So there you go, fantastic interview from Lucas Digne regarding Everton and our goals and our aims, and of course the fact that the football stadiums are still without fans, which is unfortunate. Tom Davies and Ben Godfrey both started and played the full 90 minutes in England under-21's 5-0 victory over Albania. A few days ago, Ben Godfrey actually picked up an assist in that game as well, so massive congratulations to Ben. Going into the earlier games of the week, Cenk Tosun scored a penalty for Turkey in their 3-2 win over Russia. Congratulations to Cenk. He's been on the score sheet a couple of times for Turkey in recent weeks, which is, fantastic for him, of course. Jordan Pickford started for England in their 2-0 defeat to Belgium earlier on in the week as well. Dominic Calver-Lewin did come off the bench for that one, but of course did not have an impact. Robin Olsen played 90 minutes for Sweden in their 2-1 win over Croatia, and Lucas Digne earlier on in the week was a substitute, however didn't come onto the pitch in France's 1-0 win over Portugal. And finally, the last bit of international roundup, Yerry Mina was sent off in the 90th minute during Colombia's 3-0 loss to Uruguay. So not a great international week for Colombia, not a great international week for Yerry Mina, to be fair. He was at fault for a goal or two in that game as well. But all the players have returned to USM Finch Farm, fit and ready to go, other than Seamus Coleman, who of course we mentioned earlier on. Hopefully we can bounce back on Sunday. Hopefully we can get that win. Fresh start now after the international break. We have to think of it like that, and ultimately we have to go out there and win this game of football. It's massively important. You can check out the live game preview to Everton's Premier League fixture against Fulham. That is currently live on the channel now. Check that out. Myself and Cal discussed that game. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Really do appreciate all of your support, of course, as per usual. We'll be back on Sunday with the live, with the instant match reactions and of course the player ratings too. the Fulham game. Hopefully it's a positive one, and hopefully it's a win. Big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.